Damascus was born, Fort Morgan, Alabama, at this little beach house. And what you guys, I don't know if you guys really knew where I was at that point in my life quite yet. I feel like, because I had been pretty straight laced for quite a few years. I'd been on a pretty good health kick and stuff for quite a while. I was in really good shape. But this was like after COVID and after putting Backslider out and being on the grind for the first time and like really experiencing what this is all about. And I kind of took a turn for the worse. And you guys were always, y'all were always there for me. So I really appreciate that out of you, on camera and off camera. I just like, I don't know, I got to a place where I felt like I wasn't going to be able to keep up with everything that I needed to be keeping up with, which led me to like going back into the Adderall world, and stayed on that for quite a while. But that just, I knew better when I did it. I don't know why I went down that path, but I knew where it would lead because I'd been there before in my life. And I remember a song that didn't make the record, but a song that I love that was written during this period of time was "I'll Be All Right," which was sparked by you being out on the road with us one weekend. We were hanging out by the pool, and I just remember like you walking up and putting your arm around me and with your big bear paw and grabbing my shoulder and saying, "Hey man, you good?" And I was like, "I'll be all right," So it took a while. I remember not long after that trip, I had a moment where I had a conversation with God, and I was just like, I feel like I'm going back down this road, and for whatever reason, I feel like I need to go down this road right now. Just don't let me go too far. And luckily, He didn't let me go too far. But in the process of all that, and the way I was living my life, and the things that I was allowing myself to partake in and be a part of, I became really like frustrated with a lot of things within the music industry and just my life and the lack of response to some of the music and stuff, which led me even further down. But out of all of that, now I'm in such a better place. It's been December 2022. I've been what they call Cali sober, I guess, and doing good. But I needed to go down that road to be able to work on this project, because what this project became, this road to Damascus, became this whole thing of focusing on the struggles that I was seeing out in the world amongst myself, other artists that I was seeing out on the road, and just the people that come to the shows, talking to all these people after the shows and hearing their stories and everything. But there was a lot of, I developed a lot of ego in that process, and which isn't always the best thing, right? But the egos can be a terrible thing, but it can also be that little voice inside your head, I feel like, that is there for you when you feel like nobody or nothing else is. It's like, hey, we got this. Let's show them what's up. But I felt like it was really important to get that out of the way. So once we got all these songs put together, and I was thinking about sequencing for the record, the fact that getting the ego out of the way seemed really important for the subjects that I wanted to talk about and put a highlight on this record, led me to making Outside Dog the very first song of the record. So track one, Outside Dog. Dan, you weren't there for this one. Mm-mm. You were there in the later process trying to talk me off of a ledge.
Editing.
Yeah. Because I really wanted to say some stuff just out of, piss and vinegar.
Frustration.
Yeah, frustration, piss and vinegar. I wanted to put in the song that I dialed back a little bit. Well, actually, we didn't really dial it back as much as I feel like we just found a more creative way to do it. More of a hip-hop way.
You still barked a little bit.
Still barked a little bit. But that was part of the whole Damascus thing, too. Like Outside Dog, starting the record with Outside Dog and ending it with Does Heaven Have a Creek, I feel like is a big part of the whole idea behind this. Not only the road to Damascus, but Damascus being a type of steel where you take a bunch of different types of steel and beat it together, and it makes like this really beautiful, strong blade with all these lines in it and stuff. So I wanted to pull from different aspects of my influences from gospel and hip hop and rock and country and put it all together in one record, just like we did with Baptized and Forgotten Man those first 2 days. But Outside Dog was me, you, and John Sherwood, right?
Sherwood. Yep.
So I can't remember exactly how it came together. I feel like we met at Little Louder when we first started working on that.
We were in John's room. Just had the title Outside Dog. Thought it'd be something that would entice you.
It did. And we worked on it a little bit that day. I think we got it like part of the chorus or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then during that time, I went to the record label to meet with John Loba, who's the guy that signed me over there and has been a huge champion for me all these years. But I played some of the first stuff we wrote, like Forgotten Man, Baptized, Chicken Shit, Jonesin, all this stuff that I really felt like we found something in. But the response just wasn't what I expected it to be. So there was a little bit more piss and vinegar added to the pot after that. And then I went to the UK, I believe. And in an Adderall fueled ride back home from the UK on a airplane, I had that track that you had made and just was jamming it in the window seat and got my pen and paper out and just kind of let it all out on those verses or whatever. Showed up and played it for you and Sherwood that night. That was such a fun night too.
Yeah, you're like, that's it.
Sherwood's killer on the bass. I think that is what led us to using Sherwood as bass player on the record, right?
Yeah.
Because we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do for players. And you were like...
At least on that back half of it.
Yeah, well, because we used the Fletch on... What songs? First Place?
Forgotten Man. What Do I Know?
What Do I Know? Yeah. The Fletch was the original...
the Backslider crew.
The Backslider band, yeah. So we used them, but then as we got more into it, we were like making all these tracks like we do when we're writing. We're just making it as we go. So I was like, well, these sound awesome to me, so why don't we just use them and use the people that we're using to make the music? So we decided to use our friends and co-writers.
But I remember distinctly the pressure that you felt when you've got a studio and you got all the musicians and feeling like you have to rush the process.
Yeah.
And I remember you coming out of that saying, man, I don't want to have to make records like that. I want to make them more organically, which you guys came out here and started doing.
Yeah, I feel like that's how it's supposed to be, Like,
I mean, that's how it started too, down at the beach.
Yeah.
That was just totally organic.
Yeah.
Just friends hanging out, making music. What that beach house reminded me of was just hanging out in the garage with my friends in the Red Room when I was a teenager. We all had this band that had 5 or 6 different names in 2 years span of time, but we had this little room that was all painted red, and we'd all get together and we'd just make music. And being there and being in here, what's the name of your studio?
Mighty Rose.
The Mighty Rose. Being here, it reminds me of those days. And I feel like I got into this because I love music and I love creating. And it started, you got to work, but it started to become too much of a job, like thinking about, well, we got 3 hours in this session to do this.
Yeah.
And those guys always give us their best.
Oh, they're amazing.
Yeah. I mean, they can literally sit down, look at a bunch of numbers on a piece of paper and play a song the first time.
And the communication's great too. That's why we love working with those guys. We have ideas. They get it. They give us everything that we're looking for, but a lot of times we don't know what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And so you feel an extra pressure that you're wasting their time.
Yeah.
And so to take that away is huge. It can be huge.
Yeah, I definitely feel that when I'm in those sessions. So it was really important to me to like finish this record just being able to hang out with friends and vibes. So we kicked your wife out of the house for like 5 days.
Stayed with your wife?
Yeah, she went and stayed with Mandy. We got them a nice Airbnb right down the road, and we just came in here and got to work. But it all kind of stemmed from that house in Alabama and also that night in the old garage, the old Mighty Rose. I loved that room, still love
Me
that
too.
room. But getting together with you in Sherwood and just making that simple little drum and bass track for Outside Dog. And
the bones for Winning Horse.
yeah,
Came from there.
we still used a lot of that on the actual track too.
Can't dig up on my own. I don't need to be fed. Wanna be free. Ain't letting nobody put chains on